Hi, everybody. We're here again with Jonna from the Ross County OSU Extension Office. And Jonna today is going to be teaching us how to make zucchini meatballs. This is our little card that talks about all the different organizations that Jonna pulls her information from.
Hi, everyone. I'm doing all kinds of things here. I was gardening and everything. I like that. Okay. All right. How's everybody doing on this nice, cool day?
Oh, yes. And I was going to say, put any questions you have in the comments, and I'll be sure to get those to Jonna.
Yes, please. And then also, if you watch you can watch it again later, my email address is in the intro slide there as well. So you can always send any questions you have there as well. Okay, everybody. Well, first I'm going to start off by washing my hands here and kind of talking about what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to start off with talking a little bit about using herbs in our cooking and how we can use those to kind of lighten up the salt and the sodium in our recipes. So I'll dry it off here. And Liz, if you go ahead and go ahead and put the PowerPoint slides up here. I got 3 of them, guys. I promise, not a lot of them. So
here's the first one.
All right, great. So the first one is did you know that actually when we use herbs to kind of reduce the flavor in our recipes and reduce the amount of salt that we have to use, we're also adding a lot of vitamins in as well. I mean, it only makes sense when you're growing a plant out of the ground, just like any vegetable, it's going to have a certain amount of vitamins in it. So just by adding 2 tablespoons of basil to your spaghetti sauce or whatever your recipe is, you're going to be getting 20% of your recommended daily vitamin K, which is a vitamin that is essential to our cardiac health. So that is, a great way. Just 2 tablespoons in there and you've got your vitamin K. And then also 2 tablespoons of parsley, which is usually that little green thing that we throw off the plate because it's just a little decoration, right? No, if we eat that parsley, we're actually getting 16% of our daily recommended vitamin C and 12% of our daily vitamin A. So just by using the herbs into our recipes that way, we are enhancing their nutritional value as well as their flavor. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, Liz, I'd appreciate it.
And I had a question about that, Jonna. Sure. When I saw actually, I'm going to go back to the first slide for a minute. Okay, when I saw the 2 tablespoons of basil, 2 tablespoons of parsley, is that fresh or dried? Because that makes a difference in measuring.
Yeah, it does. And that's what we're going to go over next is the difference there. I am going to assume, and I'm pretty sure that this was as a fresh. So, and you're going to be you're still going to get it in the dried forms, but those numbers wouldn't be quite as accurate. But this is with fresh herbs. I'm almost 100% sure. I did cite the sites that I pulled that for on there. So if anybody wants to look it up, they're more than welcome to do that. They're on there.
All right, here's the second slide for you.
Okay, so tips for using herbs. Now I went into talking about how we can use herbs to enhance the flavor of different foods instead of using salt. Now, salt has been, I know growing up as I did in the 60s and the 70s, I'm sure I'm telling my age there, salt and pepper were the main things. You didn't really see people using a lot of herbs in their cooking unless they went to a fancy restaurant, right? So we're geared to use the salt. Now, if you have someone in your household, I have my husband who has high blood pressure. So when he had his diagnosis several years ago, we decided, okay, we need to cut out some of the salt in our diet. And I started using more herbs. And I'm not going to lie to you. It's hard to kind of at first to get used to less salt in your diet. But once you start using the fresh herbs and you realize all the different flavors you can pull in, you're going to like it a whole lot more. And when it gets to the point, I actually now do not like salty foods. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I'll eat a nice handful of peanuts or a handful of chips every now and then, but they actually are too salty for me. So it's a way you can use the herbs to season your food and get away from that salty flavor. Now, when you are using this, as Liz mentioned, there is a different measuring. So a tablespoon of fresh herbs is going to be equal to 1 teaspoon of dried herbs. It only makes sense. You take those big leaves that you have for the fresh herbs and you dry them up, they're going to be smaller. So if you would use a tablespoon, you would be getting double of what you would if those leaves were dried up. So you want to be really careful and make sure you're reading your recipes closely. If it's calling for fresh herbs and it says a tablespoon and you're going to substitute out, you don't say you don't have any basil on hand. You can use the dried basil, but substitute it as 1 teaspoon versus 1 tablespoon. And then crush your dried herbs before you put them into your recipe. I always take them and put them in the palm of my hand and just take my fingers and crush them around. That releases the oils inside of those dried herbs, and it's going to give them more flavor into your recipe. So rosemary is what it always comes to mind because it's kind of like in a little stick form. You always want to break that up. Number one, it's going to release those oils and give you more flavor. And it also is going to make it so you don't have those big pieces of rosemary in your sauces, which you bite into. I personally like it. Some people don't. And then another thing to always keep in mind is if you're using fresh herbs, you want to put them in towards the end of your recipe, closer towards the end, because if you overcook them, you may kind of, you're going to cook some of the flavor out of them, and they also may over-season your dish just a little bit. So put those in towards the end of your recipe. So Liz, if you don't mind, if you could go ahead and flip me back up on the camera, I've got something I want to show you here too. Another thing a lot of people don't realize, when you're buying your canned spices, I'm trying to get to the glare sign off this. This is a can of ground sage, okay? So there is a difference between ground and flaked. So this is ground. And what I have here in this bowl, if you can see, can everybody see that? This here on this side is some ground sage, or is some flake sage. This is actually fresh out of my herb garden. I hung it up, dried it, and then broke it up. So you can see how much this is. This is like a teaspoon. And then this over here is this ground sage like I had in this can. It's like a powder. It's almost like, it's just really super fine. You just, you put it through a grater real easy. So you always want to make sure that if you're using flaked versus ground, that you're using less of the ground, because the ground is going to give you way more flavor. If you put a whole teaspoon of that ground when it's calling for a teaspoon of flaked, your same deal as with the fresh to the flaked, you're going to get way more flavor than what you need. So take it by half as well. If you're calling for a teaspoon of flaked sage, you want to take it to a half teaspoon of ground. Okay. So just remember, you're always cutting in half. Okay, but you want to go back to the last slide there, Liz. This is something, and I've made some of this I'm going to use in our recipe today. This is Italian seasoning. A lot of times we don't really think about, we go to the store and we have all these spices and these seasonings in our cabinet, and we don't really think about, okay, we can really mix these together and make these things. So Italian seasoning is just basil, oregano, rosemary, and thyme. I don't know how many times I've been out of Italian seasoning, went and bought another can, and I've got a can of each one of these sitting in my pantry. So it's really simple to do. You just take, and if you look at my picture here, I've got my fresh herbs there that I grew. I just love that picture. That's the reason I had to share that with y'all. I think it's so pretty. But I just took a tablespoon of each one, tablespoon of the basil, tablespoon of the oregano, tablespoon of the dried rosemary, and the dried thyme. And then these are all flaked. These are not ground. And mix them together, and I've got the perfect Italian seasoning. And Liz will share this slide within the Facebook post there, or the YouTube, wherever you're watching it, so you can make sure you have this recipe if you need it. Okay? All right. So,
all right.
Only 3 slides, I promised.
And I did just put the recipe in the comments as well, the zucchini meatballs recipe.
Perfect. Okay, as promised, we have today zucchini meatballs. Now, these are not pure zucchini. I'm going to use ground chicken, or actually I ground turkey today. The recipe will call for ground beef, but I'm trying to lighten this up a little bit, so I'm going to use ground turkey. I'll have that in the refrigerator. So starting out, I've got a zucchini here that is fresh out of my garden. I'm going to cut off the ends. Get out of the way. And then I'm going to take my grater, and this is kind of a medium-sized grater here. So you're going to get like a pretty good small-looking zucchini. And I'm just going to grate this down. And you want to come up with about 2 cups of zucchini.
And it
Now,
is amazing how much grated zucchini comes from a zucchini.
oh, I know. It's like it grows. It's like a monster. And that is something what I do, because right now my zucchini plants are producing like crazy. So obviously I can't use it all, and obviously my neighbors only want so much of it. So I am grating it up like this, and I put it in freezer bags. And I think we talked about this the last time we were together, Liz. I will put this in the freezer, and I will pull it out this winter, and I will make zucchini bread out of it. I can make these meatballs out of it. I can make zucchini fritters. I can put it in frittatas for breakfast. You can use grated zucchini in just about anything. So, don't ever be afraid to plant zucchini in your garden, because it is a very versatile and easy vegetable to cook with. My husband's favorite thing is I made zucchini French fries the other night. Those were really good too. See how much this?
Yep. Several years ago, I had a ton of zucchini somebody had given me, and I made zucchini pickles and zucchini relish. And the zucchini relish was the real surprise for me. It was really, really good.
The zucchini gives it a whole different flavor than what the cucumbers do. It's a sweeter, milder flavor than what the cucumbers would be. And my husband really likes, I make bread and butter pickles out of zucchini. Okay, so there we go. I've got just about 2 cups of zucchini there. So I'm going to go over here to the fridge real quick, and I'm going to grab my ground turkey. All right, so I've already got it in the pan, in the bowl here. And this is just a pound of ground turkey. I'm going to break it up. And this is a really quick mix together recipe. I'm going to throw in my zucchini here. And this is all, you mix it all up in one bowl. And to that, I'm going to add 1 egg, slightly beaten. I'm going to take a pity on your ears and use my little plastic whisk here so I don't beat it up with a fork like I normally would. Okay. I'm going to put that in our bowl. And then I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup, and these are just plain traditional breadcrumbs. I don't always have breadcrumbs on hand. If you don't have any, you can always take a couple slices of bread and put them in the toaster, get them nice and crispy, and then grind them up in your blender or your little grinder, or you can just put them in a bread bag or a plastic bag and let the kids go at it too. They enjoy making breadcrumbs. Okay, so there's a 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs in there. It also calls for a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese. Now this was shredded in a bag that I bought. I do normally buy the chunks of Parmesan and shred my own, but this was just quick and easy. So there's a 1/4 cup of that. 1/4 cup of finely diced onion. It says either 2 cloves of garlic minced or a teaspoon of garlic powder. And today we're going to opt for the garlic powder, because meatballs, you got to be careful. If you get too many chunky things in there, sometimes they don't stick together real well. So I decided to use the powder versus the garlic on this. And then last but not least, here's my Italian seasoning. I just, as you can see, I got it labeled there. I just have these little containers I buy, and I'm going to put a teaspoon of this in there as well. Okay, now, as I told you, what I will do with this is I'm going to put this in the palm of my hand, because I want to release these flavors and just take my fingers and just break it up. Just squeeze it up, and you can hear it crunching. Now it's going to release your flavors in there. Put that all in there. Okay. And now I'm just going to take my spoon, and I'm going to mix this all together. And the really nice thing about this recipe is if you have someone in your family who is not a big vegetable eater, they're going to love these because they're meatballs. I mean, who doesn't like a nice meatball on their spaghetti? So you can actually, throw this in there. If you don't want to use zucchini, if you've got some other vegetable around on hand, you could chop up broccoli real fine and put in here. You could shred up carrots. Any kind of squash is going to work really well in here. You could actually put some cauliflower in. You can put just about anything you want into meatballs or meatloaf, either one. Okay, so there, I got it all mixed together. See how everything's all nice and mushy there? Now I'm going to take my baking pan here that I have lined with parchment paper. You can use, if you just want to spray some cooking spray on a plain pan, you can. I use the parchment paper just so that I have a nice way to clean up afterwards. I'll admit to you. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to take about a rounded tablespoon here, and then I'm just going to make it into a nice meatball. And we're going to do that until you have it all balled up. Okay. Try not to, I'm making them little oddball sizes there. You want to try to make them so they're even sizes. That'll help you. So make sure they cook evenly. You don't want a lot of different sizes, because then you'll have some that are undercooked and some is overcooked, or some are just perfect in the middle there too. So, okay. You see how quick that went together. I mean, I did everything pre-measured, but I probably had 5 minutes prep in this. I was able to find my turkey on sale. If anybody has priced the price of ground beef right now, I've seen some places as high as almost $7 a pound. So ground beef is really kind of pricey. Ground turkey, ground chicken is going to be a lot more economical, and it's a lot less as far as fat content as well. So it's going to help you on your budget. It's going to help you on your health-wise too. All right, so a couple more here. I'm going to have to probably make another pan of these, but we'll just go ahead and pop these in the oven. All right, so as you can see, I got them all put in there. I'm going to pop them in the oven for about 20 minutes, and you're going to turn them halfway through at 10 minutes. Let me wash my hands here again real quick. You want to make sure you turn them, because they will get brown on the bottom where they're touching the pan. So you want to make sure you're turning them halfway through. Okay. So we'll pop these in the oven. And then through the live action of magic of TV, as you can see, I've already put these in with my favorite pasta sauce, put them over top of my whole wheat spaghetti here, and sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese. And if you can see inside of that meatball, you really can't see the zucchini. That's what I was trying to tell you. You can always fool somebody to get a few extra vegetables into their diet. You don't really taste the zucchini. It does have a mild sweetness to it. Depending on what kind of sauce you put on it, you don't really taste the zucchini. But it's a really good way to get those extra nutrients into your diet. Okay, well, I guess you all know what I'm having for supper tonight. How about you?
That sounds really good.
And they're super good.
Yeah, well, and I love putting vegetables in recipes like that, because then I don't know, it just makes it feel like the meal comes together more easily.
Right. I mean, nowadays we don't have the big, we have to have the 5-course meal. It's not always definitely having the meat and the side and the salad. I can stick a side salad with this, and I've got two courses for my meal, but I'm getting all my nutrients there. I'm getting the whole grains from my pasta, because it's a whole wheat pasta. I'm getting the vegetables, obviously, from the zucchini and the onion, and the pasta sauce. It's got the tomatoes in it. I've got the turkey for my protein, and I've got the Parmesan cheese for my dairy. So we pretty much have got the 5 food groups covered there in this one little plate. So there you go, guys.
Fantastic. Now, Jonna, I know next week you will not be back with us. We will be visiting with Lisa Barledge from the Extension Office, making strawberry freezer jam.
Yes, you guys are really going to enjoy that. It's some really good stuff. I have some in my freezer. It's good stuff.
Yes, I've had it before. She did a program with us in person last summer, and the jam was really good.
Yes.
And then we're finished for the summer series. We're taking August off, and we'll be looking at options for the fall. So hopefully I'm sure we'll see you back in some capacity.
Oh yes, I definitely will come back. I always want to tell everybody, anybody out there listening, if you think of anything that you would like for me to cover, any food that you would like for me to cover, or cooking process, or any nutritional topic, let us know, and I'll be more than happy to. I've got a whole bunch of people behind me in Ohio State can find out anything we need to know. So please reach out and let us know what you're interested in. Okay.
And I also just remembered the Seasoned magazine. I'm just popping that in
Yes.
there, volume 4.
Yes.
So if anyone's looking for some ideas, there's some great ideas in that magazine.
Yes, and on that link, when you click on the link to go to that magazine, you can also subscribe to their newsletter, and you can get something. I think it comes once every 2 weeks or maybe once a month, but they have a lot of really good articles in there. So make sure you check that out as well.
Great. Well, thanks again, Jonna. Thank you everyone
Thank
for
you.
watching, and we'll see you soon.
Everybody enjoy the rest of summer.